show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What is up, Nickel City Mafia? Yeah, throwing out a new intro tonight. I mean, I was bored yesterday waiting for the Bills game to start. Had a lot of time on my hands, so I was playing around with some intros. I thought that was kind of cool. But welcome to Sunday Night Bills Talk, the only night or only show that you can get ice cold Loganberry on tap, 50-cent wings all night. We got dollar drinks for the next hour, and you know, if we have to go beyond that, which we might, we have a lot of things to talk about. You know, we've usually been able to get the place to extend the drinks for an additional, 30 minutes or so. So grab your drink of choice. We got a lot to get through. Wings. Let's give a shout out to what's the next wing place, Jake, that we want to talk about.
I first off need to say that was incredible, Mike. This is the first time I saw the intro. He gave me a little bit of like a preview, if you will, just saying, hey, just check out this new intro. So I didn't know what to expect. That was absolutely incredible. And it fired me up beyond belief. So I'm ready to do a show now. Going right into the wing place. Gabe's Gate is is tonight's wing feature place. Talking a little bit about Gabe's Gate. I would say, in my opinion, if you're talking true like downtown wing places, it's probably the best one you'll be able to get. Obviously there's the Anchor Bar, which is the originators of the Buffalo Wing, but Anchor Bar is still good, but it's just a little more commercialized this day and age. So if you're going to go somewhere, if you're in downtown Buffalo, Gabe's Gate's definitely the spot to go. It's cozy. It's a little like hole in the wall place, and their wings are just next level. I mean, and they have the traditional Buffalo wings, Mike. That's kind of what they're known for. They're not known for like the honey butter barbecue like Barbell is. You go in there, you order the medium wings. You're doing yourself a very good solid favor with that because you're not going to leave hungry. That's for damn sure. And on top of that, the flavor is unbelievable. It's a very, like I said, it's more traditional style, and it is fantastic. In my opinion, the best wings in downtown Buffalo.
Now, are they is it in Allentown or close to Allentown? It's in Allentown, right?
Yep, that's right.
So Allentown's kind of a nice little party place, right?
Yeah, they've really built it up quite a bit. I mean, that's definitely, if you're going bar hopping and you're like above the age of 25, solid spot, 20s, 20 to 30-year-olds typically. I mean, Chippewa is a little younger age group there. So if you're going to go down on Allentown, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's happening down there for sure.
Awesome. Well, listen, I have Jake Podger, co-host as usual, also joining us. This young guy. Sean Cooler from the Red, White, and Bills. And Sean, I saw you put out the video yesterday. You put out the news. Sean and Brad are going to be doing a show on Nickel City Mafia called The Red, White, and Ruthless. And that's going to start up hopefully next week. And we're still working out what they're going to bring. Never know. But I'm excited to have those two. They still have their channels. Get on over there and subscribe both to the Red, White, and Bills and the Go Bills podcast. But once a week, they're going to do a show on the Nickel City Mafia platform. So super excited to have that going on. Sean, how you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm super excited about the new show as well. I think what we talk about will depend on the day we pick. So I think Brett mentioned a Saturday. So for the most part, that would basically fit in with pregame and, what happened in the week. Because by that time, nobody wants to talk the last week's game anymore. So we'll figure something out. And if Saturday works, and we'll be in the planning stage and hopefully get it out next week. But I'm feeling good, glad to be here tonight, and get some nice Loganberry while we're talking.
Sean's never had Loganberry, so I'll tell you
That's
what.
right.
When you come to Buffalo, Sean, we will make it a point to get you some Loganberry.
I never had true Buffalo wings either because I would go up for the games and leave because I go to the afternoon games. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna stay overnight and because I gotta go home, go to work or whatever. But now it's a night game and I'm going the night before to hang out with Jake Podger. So he's gonna we're gonna pick a couple wing places so I can see these mind altering wings that everybody talks about.
Here's the plan. I'm gonna give you the rundown. I'm gonna give you a little preview of what's gonna happen. So you're gonna come in Wednesday night, correct? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Wednesday night we'll hit maybe we'll hit Gabe's Gate Wednesday night. We'll go downtown, hit Gabe's Gate, get some wings in us, and then we'll see what happens from there. I'm taking off that Thursday, so I have the day off. It's going to be great. I think Thursday, game day, we go to Barbell. Go early in the day as soon as they open, so that way we can get a table, and we'll really enjoy ourselves, have a beautiful lunch, and it's going to be spectacular. You can do beef on weck, too, because you're going to be winged out after all this, I guarantee you. But you're probably going to be wanting more at the same time, if that even makes sense. And then I think Friday, maybe before you leave, we can go and get wing nuts.
But we'll have to see what the ticket, wherever I leave is. But if it's enough time, I'll definitely be down. Because
All right, man.
Hear all these good things about. I mean, all these people that we watch, they all sponsored by Buffalo Pizza, and they all say this one's the best. This one's the best. I got to see for myself who's telling the truth and who's telling a lie. But But Timmy said that's what I was wondering. He said, "No way you're getting into Barbell on game day."
Well, Timmy, the plan is we're gonna go literally when they open.
We're gonna camp out.
We'll be there. We will be there 15 minutes before they open. We'll be in line. I know that people line up outside of Barbell too. So, and the nice part is at least Barbell has 2 locations now. So we're gonna go to the East Aurora one. We'll try our hand, and if not, I guess we can go to the Clarence/Lane Cat. I don't even know where it's technically.
What time do they open?
11:30.
Well, let's get there at 10. And
we'll get there at 11.
Get some lawn chairs and sit down in front of the building. And wait,
I mean, East Aurora's open container. Sometimes you gotta, you go across the street, grab a beer, grab a drink or whatever, stand in line, and that's that. So we might be doing that, Sean.
We'll figure it out. We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Guys are making me so jealous. I almost want to make the trip. Maybe not go to the game, but I'll just make the trip and go for the wings, and then I'll be watching.
I owe you wings, Mike.
Watching it on big screen somewhere.
You can sit in the parking lot and watch it on NFL Plus.
Well, listen, we have Madden winners to announce. Madden winners. It's that time. Yes, we're finally here to announce the winners. And I made an executive decision. And let me tell you about that a little bit. So I had been saying we'd give away whatever version you want, the standard edition or the deluxe edition. Deluxe edition is about $99. The standard edition is $64. Well, I learned recently, and I didn't know this, I thought for sure both options would be available in the case with Josh Allen on it. Well, the deluxe edition is only digital only, which is a bummer. So what I said is, you know what? If I'm willing to spend $200, I can get 3 people, the standard edition.
Yeah.
So I hope they're okay with it. When I announce the winners, if you were just like, hey, if I'm the winner, I wanted that deluxe edition, hit me up. We'll talk about it. But I have 3 winners. And there were 5 people who got into it, and
that's it.
It was it.
Yeah, that's it. It was a very
did I get in?
crowd.
Did I get in that song?
You were in.
Okay.
But I must say it was a clean sweep by the ladies of Nickel City Mafia. Clean sweep. So the winners, Jules Marie. Now, Jules Marie, this is a great story for her. She has been in every giveaway. She has done everything we've asked. There was one time on the wheel when we spun it, it just missed her. I mean, she had the most entries. And it always felt like, Jake, she always had the most entries on the wheel.
Oh, every time.
And it would just miss her.
She got screwed.
Jules Marie, congratulations. I know she's got a nephew that loves the Buffalo Bills. I think he's around 10 years old, or about my son's age. And I know he recently went to see the Bills at practice as well. Then we have Morning Mayan. I hope I'm saying that right.
Nice.
And congratulations, she's got it. And then we got Sophia from Hawaii. Now, we haven't heard from Sophia. I hope she's okay. I know there's a lot going on there in Maui. I'm not sure what island she's on, but she has been out here recently talking to us. But clean sweep for the ladies. So please contact me on Instagram, Nickel City Mafia. Just send me a message. We'll talk about where I send these and how you're able to get that. So congratulations. And super excited about that.
Wonderful.
And thank you to everyone that participated. We do appreciate it. And we're glad that we can give back to you guys. And I know there's going to be some more of this in the future here. So we truly appreciate it and happy we can give back.
Yeah, so let's get into it. And again, if you're new to the channel, and again, with drinks for $1 in the next hour, 50-cent wings, make sure you treat your staff properly by hitting that like button, smashing that subscribe button, drop a nickel on it is what I always say. And leave a comment. Leave a comment if you're watching this after the live show. Let's get into it. A lot to talk about. I mean, my goodness, pretty poor performance. But before we get into the poor performance and the negatives, Mom always said, there's two versions of what Mama said. Sean has one that says, hey, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. And my mom said, if you're going to say something negative, start with some positives. So we're going to try to get some positives off the board first. And Jake, let me throw it to you. Give me 2 positives that you saw in this game.
Certainly. I mean, Justin Shorter, we've been talking him up for so long here. This guy goes out and has 5 catches, 47 yards, scores a touchdown. He looked great. He did a really nice job of winning inside, using his body. He looked like a true pro out there. And, you know, I think a lot of us were waiting for this moment. You know, last game he started it off, but didn't record any catches or anything like that. And, you know, we've just been salivating, waiting to see this young man on the field. And I know you love it, Mike, because this dude he's a big receiver, big bodied guy, and a dude that we can maybe use down the stretch here. So, I was super happy with that, super thrilled with his performance, and he played with a couple different quarterbacks. So you'll love to see it. Another positive, Osiris Torrance. I think we have a lock at the right guard position, fellas. And I know the O-line wasn't much to shed light on, but if there's anything we could take away from this, it's that Osiris Torrance is going to be our starting right guard. And I think he was absolutely worth that second-round pick. So he is definitely making good on that. So those are my 2 positive takeaways right there.
You're muted,
Mike, you are
friend.
on mute. By the way, both from the University of Florida. So how about Florida showing out?
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for letting me know. I muted myself for some reason. I don't know why. But anyhow, Sean, do you have any positives to share?
Well, I don't want to take Jake's, but I was going to say Torrance for 100%, but I'll say Jordan Mims, even though he looked,
Oh, yeah, baby.
you know, even though he was playing against like 4th stringers and 3rd stringers, he had a couple nice runs, and he had that touchdown. So,
What did I tell you?
again, he's fighting for a position. I know people say, oh, it was against, you know, scrubs, but he's trying to make a name for himself, and he came out and did some good things. And then, I mean, it's an easy cop out, but Kincaid. One thing I will say though is when people bring up like, oh, he played against this, he did this against that. He had 1 catch with the ones, and then his other catches were against scrubs as well. So he did a lot better. He was able to produce, and you know, he has great route running ability. So that was amazing. But the talent he did it against, you know, was subpar. But again, we finally got to see him catch the ball. He looked like a vet. So that's all I could ask for.
Quick. He had a burst. He was quick, caught everything he threw to him. The only bad thing he did was that false start. And I think he was just a little too excited to get off the line. So that's why you just don't have him put his hand in the ground. Just have him play that slot.
He already proved you wrong, though, Jake.
I know. I'm a little
His
sad
hand in the
about it. I
ground.
was thinking about that. Yeah, but no, he was fantastic, man. I totally agree.
Yeah, there was no Dawson Knox in the game. They're just holding him out. I don't. There's no injury.
He has a finger injury,
Right. Oh, okay.
which I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. But
Yeah,
why bother putting him out there if you don't need to?
yeah.
Well, you need your fingers to catch, so hopefully he's
That's true.
he's not, you know.
You guys
Yeah.
covered everything pretty much that I had. I have just a couple others, and it was Trent Sherfield making that
Yep.
big catch in traffic. I mean, showing me some toughness. And a lot of guys would shy away from that type of catch, especially in preseason. But nope, he went after it, got it, took a big hit, held on to it. And this guy, again, I've been saying he's not making the team, but you know, I got to give him a shout out. Andy Isabella, again, he got one throw to
Yeah.
him, catches everything. He's been a vacuum. Everything that comes his way, he snags it. He has that yards after catch, that yak. And you know, I think the return game was just not there. The whole special teams game was just not there. But I think he had one decent one, but it got called back. We had so many penalties
Yeah,
in
it
the
was the
first
first
half,
one.
which was like, we'll talk about that on the negative side of things. And then, Saran continues to get a lot of play out there. Saw him making plays. But as soon as I put that note, I see him get a missed tackle. But I'm still going to give him a shout out because he was all over the field, big guy running all over side to side, making tackles. So I am still surprised to see how much playing time they're giving him, Jake.
I know it.
What's going on there?
I think they're just trying to see what they got with him. You know, he's been basically just a special teamer or a guy that we would put out on the field to take care of Travis Kelce. It was one of the two things.
The only thing he's good for is either guard Travis Kelce.
Hey, and he did a hell of a job. I mean, you're going up against one of the top 5 tight ends in NFL history, right? And you do a tremendous job of shutting him down. So I think they want to see what they got in him and whether he is going to be a dude that's going to be on this team, you know, to provide some depth maybe even play the safety position a little bit or play the nickel corner, maybe a little bit of both. I'm not sure. I think he's on the bubble, and that's why they want to give him as much playing time as possible right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. One other one I wanted to mention, again, this is not a Bills thing, but it was a cool father-son thing. Joey Porter Jr., drafted by the Steelers, first round, 32nd overall. His dad was there, his dad got to see him with the interception. Just very, very cool. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. used to be the ball boy back when he was young, when his dad was playing for the Steelers. So that was cool to see. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had. It was a real stretch to get some positives, a real reach, but we've made our moms proud. Now let's get into the rough talk here. Let's get into the negative stuff that took place on the field. It looks like, Sean, you have something else you want to say.
Tyler Bass was good too. He didn't miss any extra points.
Yeah. I do want to say hi to Big L. Big L bringing the heat already. We need a replacement for Spencer Brown.
Been saying it for years. Everybody knows.
I know. Keith, love the intro. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate that, man. Let's see. Timmy, good to see you out there. Imperial Pizza. Yeah, don't sleep on Imperial Pizza and barbecue wings.
Fantastic.
They also have Loganberry wings, which, hey, why not just get the Loganberry in the wings?
There you go.
In one. They're fantastic.
Yeah. What is a Loganberry though, Mike?
It's a real berry, by the way.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, what's it like compared to, or what's like the flavor profile of it?
Oh man, what would you say, Jake? I haven't had it in a while. It's like a little tart, sweet juice,
sweet and tart.
Yeah,
sweet and tart for sure. Yeah,
it's like
it's it's a Buffalo staple
mixed with something.
Yeah, I would say so. Similar to that. Yeah, you'll just have to see, man. You just have to see it.
You have to check it out.
It's non-alcoholic. It's a pop. There's a lot of sugar in it. I think there's like 41 grams of sugar in it. So be prepared.
That's why it's good on the wings.
Yeah,
and let's
that's
see.
right.
So let's. Timmy has a question right off the bat here. Can Leonard Floyd defend the run? Wasn't setting the edge that well.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point, Timmy. I think with Leonard Floyd, that's always kind of been a knock on him. Really good in pass rushing situations, not necessarily the greatest against the run. I noticed that as well. I wasn't super impressed by that. A lot of our guys just got swallowed up, and there was no chance in hell. I mean, especially on that 62-yard touchdown run. Both Matt Milano and Tyrell Dodson, nowhere to be found. Both just, it was bad. And then Jordan Porter taking a poor angle. And there was just so many bad things about that play, and I don't even want to relive it. Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I mean, on that play, he definitely looked old. There's no doubt. But, I think that's a very good point. And, you look at the knock on him actually coming into the draft, 10 years ago, it was that. So, I hope that answers your question. I will point out one other positive too. Cameron Klein, guys, kid out of South Dakota. Good. I'm a big fan of him. He's been sticking around. I think this is his second year now, but I liked what I saw from him. I thought he played really, really tough, and he's gonna at least compete for a roster spot. That last defensive end position. I mean, for him, he's probably going to be a practice squatter, but it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Rousseau was good too, but he made his plays when the backups are in. So again, you got to do that when the first team's in, but nobody really did nothing on that defense with the first team in. So, but he still made plays, so got to give him the credit.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, Sean, start us off with 2 negatives from the game.
Ooh, this is hard because there wasn't that much negative. There's such a well put together game. It was really good. No, well, first off, I want to preface everything that we're all going to say tonight with, we understand that it's preseason, but the big thing, I'm going to speak for everybody. I don't know if they all agree, but it's things we've all seen year after year after year, still surfacing. And, it's after the loss we suffered last year, you would expect to have a wonderful camp and come out with the ones, firing on all cylinders. Again, we know it doesn't mean anything for the win. We know it doesn't mean anything it doesn't justify like, oh yeah, they played bad, so now they're going to be a horrible team. It's mainly just for the young guys to get roster spots, but also to see everything you did at camp in a culmination to see how did everything go. And as we saw, there was a lot that, was to be desired, and we're going to get into it. But the first thing for me was the 12 penalties. And everyone's like, oh, but it's preseason. People underestimate how many penalties we've had over the last few years. I think McDermott's got a disciplined team, but there's been games where we got up there in penalties and we were up in the top of the list with flags the last couple of years. And it wasn't even the guys fighting for a roster spot for the most part. It was really the ones committing all the penalties. And it's just simple things like a hard count. I remember doing hard counts when I was in 7th grade football and when I was a senior. We did it more successfully than the Bills do it on a regular basis. So yeah, they get it sometimes, but the call, the defense doesn't. That's the point of the hard count. And then you still jump. It doesn't make. That's what I'll never understand with pros, the undisciplined, unfocused, and people think like, oh, it's not really McDermott's fault. It's really on the players to be disciplined. But I'm going to tell you two scenarios. One was when I was in the military, and one just playing football. When I played football in high school, and this is just high school, it's not even the pro level. If we messed up, we had a hill at there's a giant hill like in the woods by our practice field, and we had a big, those big giant tires that weighed like 500 pounds. If we messed up, and whether it was penalties or whatever, we'd run down to the hill. We had to flip the tire up all the way up the top of the hill, then wheel it down and keep flipping it over until they said that was enough. Then mistakes were minimized. And going back to the military, I was late once when I was a private, and I was a few minutes late. So not only did I have to create a new way of getting there earlier, so I had to wake up an hour and a half earlier because the leadership told me to. They had to meet me there. I got jacked up for the next 2 or 3 hours that morning to make sure that I won't be late again. And guess what? I was never late again. So I don't like hearing those excuses like, oh, it's the players too. McDermott's not instilling fear into these people enough to like, oh, it's okay, we'll work on it. Let me pull you aside out of practice and coach you about don't do that. You gotta like Brian Flores. I watch a lot of Dolphins YouTube, and they always say the takes no talent. He had a takes no talent sign, and whenever you screwed up penalties or whatever, you had to run to the sign back and forth until it was enough. And Dolphins had one of the most disciplined teams when they had Flores. Now they got McDaniel, and they're completely undisciplined and unfocused, and it's 100% on the coaches. These are grown men. So if me as a kid, me as a private, me in high school football can learn, like, if I don't want to do this stuff again, if I don't want to take this punishment again, I'm going to change my action. These guys have no accountability from the top down. McDermott just must be babying them in practice or something because they keep continuing to do it. Oh, I don't like penalties, he said last week. Now we get 12 of them this week. So he's doing something or not doing something that needs to be changed. And again, I know it's preseason. This is just basic stuff, jumping off sides, false start, everything. Oh, can't do a hard count, holding because you get beat. Spencer Brown, Dawkins. Like, it's just those things kill you. And I was telling Tommy from Mafia Sports Report, shout out to them, go subscribe. But one of those plays can take you out of field goal range to win a playoff game. And people don't think about it now, but it goes back to what I said last year. I know I'm rambling. I'm only on one thing right now. But you guys remember me last year? We won a game that we played bad in. Everybody said, oh, at least we won. Then we lose a game. Oh, it's just one game. Then we lost 2 in a row. Oh, it's just 2 losses. It doesn't define everything. Then we won 8 games in a row where we played like crap. And then we get into the playoffs. We barely beat Miami. And then we play terrible against Cincinnati. It's the same attitude that's like, oh, it's just preseason. Then when we lose week 1 to the Jets, it's going to be, oh, it's just week 1. Everybody's working together yet. It's just getting the rust off. And then later down the road, it's going to be the same thing. Oh, it's just 1 loss. Or, oh, we still won the game. But it's all this stuff needs to be addressed. And in some of the players, again, sorry, I'm rambling, but in the players, interviews, like Dawkins says, oh, well, everybody loses, everybody has a reality check. Yeah, but they're not really, they're just assuming that everyone has a bad game. They're not, oh yeah, you know what? I got to be better. Micah Hyde, oh, this doesn't worry us at all. It should worry you. You played like shit and you were undisciplined. You look like middle schoolers. Like, you should be absolutely concerned with how you play. I don't care if it's preseason. You guys are grown men trying to be a Super Bowl contender. Play how you practice. Even though it's preseason, it doesn't matter. You're out there for a reason. The ones who are out there to see where they're at, and they don't look like they're in a good place right now. So accountability for all the players needs to be there. I don't see it. But again, the second thing, because I'll move on, the tackles, obviously they were putrid, and you almost would rather have pressure from the inside because you can see it better. It's hard to see pressure coming from around the edge. And then, of course, every time Josh is standing there, he's getting ready to throw, and Spencer Brown's trailing his guy, trying to grab him. And you just imagine the Jets game all over again. And that's a huge problem because we play at least 11 teams that have fantastic defensive fronts out of 17 games. So if we can't do it in a small sample size against Pittsburgh, which again has a fantastic defensive line, we're going to have a rough season. So no matter how good the interior was, I thought the interior played phenomenal, but the bookends were just absolutely horrible. And I know it's preseason, guys. Don't get me wrong, but it was unacceptable, and they need to take accountability, and they need to do something quick because, yeah, it's preseason, but it's 3 weeks left. How much can you change in 3 weeks when you really think about it? Like, Jake, I know you played. What can you really change in 3 weeks? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you worded that extremely well, Sean. So I'm with you 100% on that because, first off, these starters have very limited time of actually being on the field and getting some repetitions in before the real show starts. So they had a quarter and a half yesterday to basically go out and prove what they've done in training camp and kind of capitalize on, a really good offseason. And, looking from the outside in, it was tough to really justify that we had a good offseason when the product on the field doesn't look good at all. And, we talked about it. We said, yeah, we added Connor McGovern. We added David Edwards. We drafted Osiris Torrance, and, over that span, we always talked about the right tackle position specifically, trying to replace Spencer Brown. But, we had come to terms with, hey, I guess maybe they really do believe in Spencer Brown. He was banged up last year. And now is the time to just let this guy play a full season. And hopefully he has a clean bill of health on his slate the entire year. So he goes out there yesterday, and we shot ourselves in the foot so many times. It was incredible. And it was incredibly embarrassing at the same time, too. I mean, we had a really good drive going, and you want to talk about drive killers. I mean, that was essentially on that drive. I think Spencer Brown had 2 penalties alone. So that's just unacceptable. And, I don't know if it is a lack of accountability, but maybe some complacency. I think they realized that, yeah, of course there were penalties and, we didn't look good at all. But, I agree with what you're saying, Sean. You can't just say, oh, it's just preseason. Oh, it's just preseason. Because guess what? This is the time for you to get better. And this is really the time for you to showcase what this starting offense is all about, because they're not going to be playing in this third preseason game. So the next time they're going to step foot on the field against another team and another set of ones is going to be against the Jets on Monday night. So I am incredibly disappointed, of course. Obviously, I extracted some positives from it, but there were much more negatives. And, the reality of it is, I think that offensive line needs help, plain and simple. And on top of that, we have to play more disciplined football. And I'm not sure if that is I don't think it's a lack of leadership per se from the players, but, Sean McDermott might need to change up some of his philosophies and, not be so rah-rah with the guys. And maybe he has to say something the other way around, Sean, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just some analysis and some thoughts on my end. But yeah, I was certainly disappointed from it. And, just praying that this doesn't happen during the regular season.
I don't want to try to steal the show, but you got me on Spencer Brown, so I just want to put in a quick tidbit before you guys go. I'm sorry, but
yeah,
when I was mad about the Kincaid pick, it was because I wanted to really focus on tackle and guard. We got lucky, we got Torrance, but the Jags picked Anton Harrison with our pick. And as much as Kincaid's a specimen and a freak, and he can be great for us, what's more important, having a great right tackle or having a great tight end who may or may not be what we think of he could be in our offense? So not only that to think about, but Spencer Brown's never had a competition. We just gave him the position basically, and we used excuses for him like, oh, he didn't have a full offseason. Well, guess what? He had a full offseason this year, and his first taste of one-on-one with a great player, his technique still looked like trash. So what did that really do for him? And we give him the job for 3 years and for the third year now. And what if we did draft a good backup another right tackle like Anton Harrison, and then he had to actually compete to win the job? And then if Harrison wins the job, fantastic. If Brown somehow beat Harrison out, then you still got Harrison as a backup. Now we have we lost 2 backup right tackles already. Spencer Brown's still not a given. He still hasn't proven anything, and he's still was getting banged up in camp. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot to think about with that. And I hate to be right again, but I've said it every year. We go as the offensive line goes, and I hate to see our downfall again be right tackle and left tackle. So now I'm done talking for a while. Sorry.
100% understand where you're
No.
coming from, man.
You're not done
Yeah.
talking because I'm going to hit you up with some more questions here in a little bit. But I did want to comment on a couple of things you said. You said 12 penalties. Sean, that was in the first half, man. That was in the first half. Now, McDermott must have went in and chewed someone out. They only had one more penalty the rest of the game. But, of course, that was with the third stringers and fourth stringers. And they were like, whoa, I don't want to feel the wrath of McDermott after whatever he said. But, yeah, 12 penalties in the first half. Not going to win many games playing like that. Steelers looked like, they were ready to go. Like week one, bring it. They were ready to go. They've had back-to-back strong preseason games. I think Kenny Pickett's played in both of them, if I'm correct. And so they're ready to go.
They're young and hungry. And Patty French Fries said it best. Sean, you made a point about this too, how Pat Fryermuth came out and said, yeah, we had a really good offseason and we've been focused, and they looked it yesterday. I mean, this is a team that's a dark horse to, make a run in the AFC too. So
yeah, and I mean, so the training camp, I mean, I said it on the video that I did last night. I was like, it looked like, did we have a training camp? I mean, we know we did, but we didn't see it on the field. No excuses for Brown. I can see he was going against TJ Watt initially. And I mean, most people would look bad against TJ Watt. That's why he's paid so much money, but they should have, schemed for him. And I think they did. One of them, there was like a triple team. They were showing that and highlighting that. But I want to talk to you guys about this tackle situation. Obviously, Brown, always been a question mark for us, even coming into the season. Dawkins, he's an all-pro. However, if either one of them goes down, I want to show you who we have right now because, by the way, Tommy Doyle is out for the season. Feel so bad for that young man. Can't catch a break. Last year was an ACL. I don't think they've revealed what the injury is. I mean, which is scary.
It's probably something similar. Because he was in the air cast, I thought maybe he broke something.
Broken leg, yeah.
Because I don't think you go in an air cast for an ACL, but it's either probably an ACL or broken patella tendon. I mean, could be anything with that lower, from
tibia,
the knee down,
something like that. Yeah,
the knee down basically, and like Jake was saying yesterday, your heart breaks for the guy, and I was saying maybe he's got to think about being done because. Two major injuries. I mean, look at Becton. He tore his patella tendon or whatever, and now year 3 or year 4, and he's been hurt for 3 years or something like that. So it's hard to come back.
So here's our backup guys. If one of those guys goes down, we've got Richard Garage, and I said yesterday, this guy's got a clear path to the 53-man roster. Like this is what we have. We have Garage. We have Questenberry. If you saw Questenberry in the second half getting just destroyed by Nick Herbig, their 4th round. Linebacker drafted this year, and he didn't look good. Ryan Vandermark, I mean, we saw him last week. We saw him a little bit this week. Last week, he was good at the left side, left tackle, just was atrocious on the right side. That's it, guys. We have 3 backups. You know who's actually probably the best backup for tackles is Bates. So good thing that Torrance is doing a good job at guard. What do we do, Jake? Where do we go from here?
I don't know. We got to bring someone in for a workout. I know we've been there's been rumors that Jason Peters is coming in for a workout. I mean, Marcus Cannon is available as well. He's a former Patriots right tackle. I don't know. I am at a loss, and this is where Sean's point about maybe drafting someone certainly comes to use. DeJuan Jones being bored, and we ended up taking someone else. So it frustrates you. It definitely does. And God, it's like Josh Allen going down, right? So I guess it wouldn't be the same impact per se, but yeah, I mean, if one of those dudes go down, specifically Deion Dawkins, if he goes down, like, yikes. Not good, man. Not good to think about.
It's already bad as it is. Imagine without having. And I don't want people to think I'm just hating on Spencer Brown, but my point was he was never certain to begin with. They drafted him early in the 3rd round for some reason as a project player, and so he was never guaranteed to work anyway. So why would they not want to double like they did with Rousseau? They didn't think Rousseau could possibly work out, so they got Boogie Basham just in case. And then it turns out Rousseau was more pro ready, and he's it all worked out for him. But we tried doing that. We got Brown and Doyle, but they were both really like, what are they going to be? And when you think about who we drafted in the 1st round since Allen's been around, we've drafted one offensive player in the 1st round, and it was Kincaid. And then you got to start thinking, Why aren't we drafting O-line in the first round? Why aren't we drafting wide receivers or whatever in the first round? Why are we just going defense, and then never working? And then, now it's coming back to us now because we already talked about right tackle so much in the offseason, either signing someone, just to at least bring in competition. Because I'm not saying like Brown can't turn it around, but he needs to compete against somebody. If you're competing against Quessenberry, you're not really winning the job. No disrespect to Quessenberry. He had a good career. He's in the tail end of it, but overall he had a great career. And now we're going to be stuck and either trying to find someone on the coming off someone's practice squad, and then they still won't even start them because they didn't work with us for the whole offseason. Because that's how they work. They're like, oh well, Quessenberry's our guy because he's been here and we like him, so we're going to put him over this guy. We might bring somebody in to back up Brown. Even if he's better than Brown, they won't even play him because they believe in Spencer Brown. He's been around for 3 years and blah, 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 blah. That's just how they always work. And, I mean, I'd love to bring Peters in. There's going to be someone that gets cut from a team that is better than what we got. So, I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, here's a question, too, because Jason Peters last played right tackle, I think, when he was with the Bills, and then he switched over to left. So he's not even familiar with, and that is a totally, like, I know it sounds so simple, and you think, like, a lot of people probably would assume, hey, you played right tackle, you could switch over to left or vice versa, right? Totally different. And that was one of the things with Taylor Lewan. Like, he refuses to play right tackle. He cannot play right tackle. He has to be a left tackle. So, and I think he's going to retire, but there is a significant difference with both sides of those tackle positions. So
he did play 30 snaps in Dallas last year at right tackle, but he was
I did see that. I did see that.
Left tackle though. So, but you're 100% right, Jake. And I mean, I take his 30 snaps at right tackle over what we Spencer Brown and anyone else.
40-year-old, you're going to take a 40-year-old tackle now, albeit he's a future Hall of Famer. So. Yeah, I mean, I'll take a service right now. I mean, this is probably the best shot we got at replacing them. It's just tough situation, man. Tough situation.
Yeah, it is. We're going to keep going with some negatives, but I wanted to throw a little light here real quick. I had a question for you, Jake. I wanted to, I got to thinking, I saw all the thumbnails for all the shows and they were doing their stock up, stock down. And I did something similar. Obviously, you saw the two that I put on the thumbnail, which was Dotson and Spencer Brown. And I saw Spencer Brown on most people's thumbnails. I think some had Kyer Elam on there as well. But I have to ask you this question. I want you to put yourself, you work pretty close to the stadium. Mm-hmm. And let's say Dotson and Spencer Brown see our show. And they get wind of where you're working. And they decide to walk over to where you are, Jake. And they come in and they're like, you know what? We would love to evaluate Jake Podger's performance today, just like he does. So we're going to stay here for 3 hours and we're going to watch what Jake does. And then we're going to go live on a podcast and talk about his performance.
Yeah.
And how would you handle that situation? I mean,
this is why I don't chirp. This is why I really don't chirp. It's hard for me.
Yeah. But I mean, in any situation, I mean, I was thinking, God, we tear these guys down.
I know it.
But they are public figures. They make a lot of money. We spend a lot of money supporting them. So I guess we have that right. But Jake, how would you handle the situation? Those two big boys come over to your place and like, where's Jake Podger? Jake, we saw you, what you said. Where's Sean? And Jake would be able to say, well, Sean lives a little bit further away. You're not going to be able to get to him. But he'll be in town on this date. He's coming to town. So just imagine you run into these guys and they happen to see. Well, I feel really bad for the folks that cover the Bills and they're at the stadium. And I saw it today on, I'm not going to call out the podcast, but they actually cover the Bills and they're there talking to these players. You think these players get wind that they're talking bad about them and maybe don't want to talk about them? So it's an interesting thing. It just got me thinking. So I thought, all right, let me throw it to Jake. Well, how would you handle that situation, my friend?
Well, like I said, I always try to be positive about these players for that very reason. Because first off, they're playing in the NFL. I'm sitting here in my chair and I'm, pushing like 240 pounds with a dad bod. So I am nowhere near, nor will I ever be. Yeah, it's tough. It's been a tough month. I lost weight and I put
it pretty good.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate that. I think, to be honest with you, if they were to approach me and if there's any negatives that they can really talk about from what I've said to them or said about them, I think you just got to be real about it and just say, hey, I get it. And maybe I was, a little harsh on you guys because already you got to assume that they're feeling like shit. I mean, they know that they didn't play the best game. So to have all the media and everything, and players say, oh, we block it all out. We don't read articles. We don't listen to the media. Well, I don't think that's totally true. I think they definitely do hear it. And, it could be motivating in some ways. Other ways, it could probably really tear them down and put them into a deep depression. So I think that is something to be mindful of. You don't want to tear into a human being because at the same time, these are human beings. They're not just football players. I don't care if they're making millions of dollars. They're making millions of dollars because they're better at doing that thing than anyone else in the world. Okay? So that's the reality of it. Now, how they compare to other players in the league, sure, that's to be up for debate. But in terms of where they're at, they're a professional athlete because they are amongst the best to do it in the world right now. So you got to remember that. I mean, I know, Sean, you even said earlier, like playing against scrubs. Well, no one's really a scrub if you're playing in the NFL.
At the scale of NFL talent, scrub.
Right. I think when you compare it, compare Tyrell Dotson to Roquan Smith. I mean, come on, right? So I think you got to put that into perspective too. So that's probably how I would handle it. I would say I am just solely basing this off of comparison to your peers, other guys that you play against, because it's not living up to those standards.
Here's what I would do.
Then I'd run. I'd get into my truck and I'd run.
If they came up to me, I would put a basic swim move on Spencer Brown and get past him. And if it was Dotson, I'd run out into the middle of the field, and he won't be able to keep up with me. So,
Sean, do you think you could win a 1-on-1? If you had 10 1-on-1s against Spencer Brown, do you think you could beat him?
You gotta give me some training, and maybe I come close, maybe once. But
all right.
No, probably not. But I mean, like I'm gonna go back to another anime reference. So I'm not gonna get into the wordage or everything, but basically, one of the guys said. So someone said to someone else, this jutsu is unbeatable. And the other guy said, everything has flaws. You just have to find it. So Spencer Brown's a professional athlete, but I'm sure somebody that's not a professional athlete could get one over on someone because there's always a way to beat somebody. But to your point again, Jake, about them being human beings and everything, that's 100% true. We're not sitting when we talk bad about someone, we're not saying like, oh, we hope they die, they're a terrible person or anything. Yeah. But when you're in that light of you get paid millions of dollars to play a game and people pay money to watch you, like Mike said, and you get so invested into your team, it's just it's part of what goes into it and they know it. And another thing, like for my cleaning business, I ask every client when I'm done with the job, how was everything? Were you satisfied? If you weren't, let me know so I can make it better for you. And if someone says, well, there was a piece of rice lodged underneath something that you missed or whatever, it's my job at that point not to be like, oh, well, that person said something bad about me. I'm going to be upset and sulk and whatever. I have to get better so I don't make that mistake again. So it's the same thing with players. You say Spencer Brown was terrible. He had terrible technique, terrible footwork, terrible hand placement, everything. Instead of him being a baby, which I doubt he is, but say, oh, he could take two approaches. Oh, well, why is everybody talking bad about me? I'm just a human being. Or I got to prove these people that I can be a better version of myself because these people put their lives into supporting something that I play for. And again, they're still human beings. I'd never say anything like, that terrible about someone that's going to critique your play based off of what I see. And yes, I'm not a professional football player. Yes, I'm not an ex-Bill, or yes, I'm, not a coach, but we all have two eyes, if we're fortunate, and we can see what we see on the field, and we can watch the film, and we can focus in on stuff. And then if you have a basic knowledge of the game, you can kind of see things how they are. And then I formulate opinions based off of that. And again, like I too was saying, you got to be able to give constructive criticism. And that's how I feel about it. I don't think anybody, especially on this panel, has ever been extremely rude to somebody because they play bad. I'm sure they get messages all the time like, "Oh, you ruined my parlay. You ruined my parlay. I hate you. You go to hell, or whatever." But I think Mostert, when he played for the 49ers, I drafted him one year, and week one he tore his ACL or something, and then his wife said people were sending him death threats and things like that. So that's when you're a lunatic. But lovable football fans like us, we're just going to critique you, but we don't hate you.
I love that. That's well put. I like what I2 said. By the way, I2, I'm not sure. Do we know I2? I don't think I've ever seen I2
No.
in the chat. So we appreciate the hell out of you coming in here.
As well.
Yes. Well, that's Tony. And Tony
is that-
actually comes in here and says this, which also a very good point. If you F up at work, someone has the ability to call you out for screwing up. Get better. Love that. All right, Tony. Freaking love it. Tony, don't call me a beta, by the way. I'm wearing my Reggie Gilliam jersey today. All right.
Oh, he's the guy that doesn't like when people wear.
Yeah. So thank you guys for answering that. I've been thinking about that today, and I'm thinking, man, if I'm in my office and I get a call from downstairs and they tell me, Mike, Spencer Brown and Tyrell Dotson are here. First of all, I'm like, can you say that again? Yeah, Spencer Brown and Tyrell Dotson are here to see you. Obviously, I'm excited because it's a Bills player, but then I immediately realize, oh my God, we've been beaten up a little bit. How's this going to go? So I just thought, and you're so close. It could happen to you, Mr. Podger.
It could.
You could say, am I wrong, though? Like, did you not play terrible?
Would Jake be able to say that? I mean, am I saying anything wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So, Tony, I agree. Yeah, it's comparing Tyrell Dotson to Roquan Smith. That's just the example I was using, right? So compared to this guy, he did not play even close to as good as this other guy. And they're both professional athletes. So you're comparing two professional athletes. It's not saying that I could do better. It's saying that in comparison to your colleagues, to your peers, to other guys that you play with or against, you did not play as well as that other person.
Love it. I definitely didn't think that was going to go where it went, but I love it. That was a good question.
I think it needed to be said because sometimes you do need to take a step back and it's like, man, am I really attacking this person, or is it like good constructive criticism, or is it fair criticism, to say the least? Because sometimes I think people do say, maybe they hate a player or something like that, and it could be taken the wrong way. You don't ever want that to happen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I want to get back to the channel a little bit, the comments here, and we got to catch up with Timmy. Timmy threw out a question early. Timmy. He said, hey, rumor is Patrick Queen might be on the block.
Love it.
Would there be any interest? What's your thoughts there?
Absolutely. Absolutely, there would be. I think we'd have to sacrifice a lot, maybe a second or a third rounder even. But I would actually be okay with it just because that guy, he's unbelievable. He's a very big piece of that Ravens defense. He's a young player, but what I2 says here, I don't think the Ravens would ever give up a guy like that because he just pairs too well with Roquan Smith. They're building something special there. And I'll tell you what, the Ravens, that stock, way up, especially with that defense and Lamar coming back. There's just so many pieces. Zay Flowers, boy, he looks good.
I wish Chris or Rick were listening. Love to get their perspective on that take. By the way, Chris and Rick, they are on Nickel City Mafia. Nickel City Mafia. They do golf shows and fantasy football, but they're Ravens fans. So we'll have to hit them up afterwards and see what they think about that. And then Big Al saying we need to make a trade whenever we can. I kind of said that in the video yesterday as well. I mean, tackles, they're just not out there that people are willing to give up on. But guys, what's your thoughts on that? So middle linebacker and tackle. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, Timmy says it perfectly here. Yeah, I don't think any tackles are getting traded. He says they're a hotter commodity than Taylor Swift tickets, which, I mean, they really are. And it's never been more evident. I mean, you look at what the Bills' situation is. Could you imagine another team that has two stud tackles? No chance are they going to get rid of them. And even with the depth that some of these teams do have, I mean, you see how fast these guys go down with injuries. They get rolled up on or whatever. I mean, they can go down like drop of a hat, man. So I think right now, unfortunately, if we wanted to make a trade, it would have to be to a team that might be in a rebuild phase or a team just looking to add some draft capital. So we'd probably have to trade a pick for a tackle. I don't think a player for a tackle would really work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I was going to say the same thing. You have to go to a team that's kind of desperate for picks.
So the Cardinals is a good example, actually, Brett.
Yeah, but again, Beachum, he's. I'm not.
You're not a fan. He's a serviceable player, though. He started a lot of games in his career. I mean,
definitely. I'm just saying, I'm not giving up picks for him. And
he's a 34-year-old tackle, and we're talking about bringing Jason Peters in for a workout. You might as well just do that, right?
The thing with me is like middle linebacker is important too, but when it comes to winning the championship, offensive line is the most important thing. So if I had to give up a pick for somebody, I'm giving up a pick for an offensive lineman. I'm not giving up a pick for a linebacker. You can give,
especially when we just drafted two linebackers in back-to-back years that we expect to be on the field.
And there's guys like that guy from the Falcons that they released. He had over 100 tackles, and he got released, and he was a starter. So why we haven't called him, I don't know. And I mean, Miles Jack just retired. I saw on the screen like about an hour ago.
I saw that too. Yeah.
But still, it's like there's going to be linebackers out there. And I think Kansas City has like 10 great linebackers that someone's going to get cut. So we'll be able to take them. And oh my gosh, Brett, Shakir in a fifth for Beachum.
I don't know. I don't think so, Brett.
I wouldn't even trade a fifth for Beachum. But that's what I'm saying. There's bad teams out there, and they might be willing to give away a starting right tackle for a pick or two. Like everyone remembers the Laramie Tunsil trade when the Dolphins got rid of him. The Dolphins needed to get rid of him, and then he went to the Texans, who were good at the time, and they gave away a lot. But Tunsil's the best left tackle in the NFL, and I guess you can argue with Trent Williams.
I was going to say, I mean, definitely top 5. There's no doubt.
He's exceptional, and I'm not saying we have to get a guy like Laramie Tunsil, but get a guy who's not 75th out of 77th in the NFL at tackle, and then we're getting somewhere. And that's the thing. You have to, if you're Brandon Beane, you have to put your pride away and realize some of the people you drafted aren't working, and that you're in. I know we have a window as long as Josh Allen's a quarterback, but you have to understand that we need to win right now because look at the AFC. Look at the parity in the AFC now. It's going to be crazy. And we're just going to be sitting there. Oh, we hope Brown. We really believe in Brown. We really believe in Dodson. I'm going to give Dawkins, even though he doesn't get a pass for how he played, we know that he can play at all pro level. So I trust that he'll be back to normal. I said that in my offensive line video, if you guys haven't checked it out yet. But I think Dawkins will be a lot better, but Brown needs at least a competition or, I mean, at least a backup because he might get hurt again. And he hasn't earned anything. He never beat anybody out for the position. Brandon Shaw wasn't competition. Quisenberry's not competition. And this makes me think maybe we should hang on to Cody Ford because he was good at tackle. It's a rookie. And everyone talks bad about Cody Ford. And I know Jake's giving the eyes all moving around, but Cody Ford.
The Bills ruined him more than he was.
Yeah. If you guys remember, he was great at tackle as a rookie, started every game, and we looked pretty solid on the offensive line in 2019. We were able to run, we were able to pass. You know, Quentin Spain, Dawkins, Morse, and I forgot who's that right guard, but then Feliciano, and then Cody Ford, and then we tried putting him at left guard, right guard. He got hurt twice, and then now we traded him, and Bills Mafia was like, "Oh, this guy's so terrible. He shouldn't even be in the NFL." And then they give Spencer Brown extra chances because he had an injury. But Cody Ford didn't get that when he had 2 injuries. Everyone said, "Oh, he's terrible. Get him out of here." But now it looks like we should have held on to him. And I don't even remember what we used with his pick. We got a 5th round for him. I think we traded it. Oh, we got Justin Shorter or something.
Justin Shorter, yeah, it was Justin. Shorter.
But still, I mean, now we're in a position where if Brown goes down, even though he's bad, then you gotta either rely on an undrafted rookie in Garage or Quisenberry, and it's just not a good spot to be in.
I wanted to, Tony must be super bored tonight. I think he's joined our show one other time. So Tony, I don't know where you are. I don't know if you're home, you're traveling.
I love it, Tone.
We appreciate you being on the show, but he's got a question. I want you to give him your elevator pitch. Both not only Zeke, but the bigger signing, in my opinion, is the Dalvin Cook signing to the Jets. So give the elevator pitch. We've talked about it, but tell Tony what he's asking there.
I think it's a very good move for the Pats. I really do. I think that's a team that utilizes the running back position, and they probably will go through about 4 to 5 guys, sometimes all in the same game. It's pretty crazy. But to bring in Zeke, I think Zeke is still a very capable back. He scored 12 touchdowns last year. I know he looks like he put on some pregnancy weight, of course, but I mean, shoot, he's going to be the backup to Ramondre Stevenson. You got a really nice 1-2 punch there now. So I feel like for them, it was a very good deal. Obviously it's 1 year, $6 million, I think it was. So yeah, I feel like it's a low risk move by them, but to bring in a guy that's a former Pro Bowler and an all pro, like, I think it's a win-win situation. So he wanted to go to a team that has good culture, a team that he could play for. And, for the Pats, I think they did the right thing there. So I feel pretty good about that. They had to replace Damian Harris with someone, right? So Zeke, that might be an upgrade even. I don't know. As far as Dalvin Cook goes, it just tells me that Breece Hall is not maybe going to be full 100% for week 1. So they want to use Dalvin Cook. You don't just bring a guy in like that to not give him a ton of carries. So he is definitely going to be, I think, in terms of workload with rushing attempts, he's going to be that guy. But Breece Hall is going to be catching passes out of the backfield, and they're going to be using him in a lot of different roles. I think it's going to be it is a dangerous offense for sure. It does scare me a little bit. You pair him with Aaron Rodgers, certainly it's a match made in heaven. But yeah, I think both teams got better with both of those signings.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew he was fully bored. He's nothing good on TV. We got Tropical Storm Hillary coming through. Really hasn't done anything that they've been saying. At least
Tony, you're not watching Chargers and Saints. What the heck, man?
I know. Nah.
Come on.
He, remember he did say he's looking for a team. He might have to jump on the Bills this year. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, Tony. All right, Tony. I'd like to see that, man. And what's this thing that Brett's saying about Brown going down or something like that? What was that called?
Love the quote. Brown goes down. Yeah.
Brown goes down. Down goes Frazier. My son made me watch the George Foreman movie last night.
How was that?
When he knocked Frazier out.
Good grills.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. It's actually a good movie. It's a good movie. I enjoyed it with him. The things he makes me watch sometimes, I'm like, why are you interested in George Foreman? But hey, good story there. All right. So, yeah, I think it's a Breece Hall. I mean, we don't know what form of Breece Hall they're going to be getting back. I mean, towards ACL. And I think it's a great security blanket for them. And if you're paying Dalvin Cook $8.6 million, man's going to be on the field a lot. I see a lot of screens from Rodgers to Dalvin Cook and get Cook in space and watch out. He can still be a game changer. So let's see what else we got going on there. Did we catch up? I think we caught up. I mean, Brett was throwing out some potential offensive tackles available right here.
Ty Nsekhe, that's another name. He was with the Bills a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, Lawan's kind of like, he's not even in, I mean, he said he can get back into football shape quick, but the other thing is he's never played right tackle. And the other thing is he's making a ton of money doing the podcast, so I highly doubt he's
living the good life right now. Yeah.
Is that the one, the bus? That's the guy.
Busting with the boys, yeah.
Busting with the boys.
I mean,
so in my talks with Taylor, when I met him,
okay.
I said, what do you think? You want to come to play for the Bills? He's like, you guys have Deion Dawkins. You know what I did say at the time? I said, F Deion Dawkins. I want you to play for the Bills. And no disrespect.
That's mean, Jake.
That was mean. That was mean. Now I had a couple of fashions in me at that time. So I think he loved it. It was great. But I asked him at the time, how much you weighing in at? He's like 285. And I'm like, oh.
No way. He looks like
now he's probably 260. Well, he's tall. He's 6'7".
Yeah.
So he carries the weight probably in his legs. And this dude, he looks great right now. I mean, in terms of just actual physical shape, he looks phenomenal. I think he's
like Joe Thomas at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah. But football shape, I'm not sure. His body definitely is not, in terms of mass, it's not really there right now for the left tackle position.
Yeah. And I mean, the other guys, bring them all in. That's what we should be doing. Work them out and see, because it's important.
Yeah.
And as much as we ignore it. And I mean, yeah, we brought in Brandon Shell, and drafted Garage. It's just not enough. You have to.
No, we didn't draft Richard Garage. We actually signed him as an undrafted.
Picked up Garage, but
yeah.
Still, it's like we
got to make that happen though. We need that, because then we could partner again with Gorilla Garage, and then we have Richard Garage be our spokesperson. I mean, that could be like a match made in heaven. So I think we do need that to happen sometime here.
Well, like Mike said, he's probably going to wiggle his way onto the 53, because I got a feeling they're not going to make any moves. And I mean, they even tried him at right tackle last game, because I think they're trying to find a place for him. Because I mean, Vandermark and Garage could play left tackle, but then I still need a guy at right tackle. Because again, Quisenberry's he should be cut, but I don't think he's going to get cut now because of what we got.
No, I think he's absolutely making the team. There's no doubt. But yeah, I mean, it begs the question: when do we actually try Ryan Bates out at that right tackle position? I mean, he started in the league as a tackle, and he can play every position on the offensive line. So when do we make the switch? Like, do we wait until it gets absolutely rock bottom worse, or do we just do this now before the season starts? Do we even play him in the third game? Probably not.
No, I think they wait. They have to wait, I think.
And that's the problem too, because he's basically your backup center.
Yeah.
So if he gets injured, then you're down a center. He's a backup right guard. He's backup center, backup right tackle probably too. I mean, there's just He's valuable.
I heard a
Certainly keep him
rumor
healthy.
that they were putting signs up around Highmark Stadium, public tryouts for tackle. So who knows, man? It could be.
Wow.
There's some good players there in Buffalo who could possibly play tackle. So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. Something I heard. But so we talked about the offensive line from Sean's negative. We talked about the penalties, 12 in the first half for 90 yards. And we talked about a lot of other things about that, the backups for the tackle position. But Jake, throwing it over to you.
Yeah.
Couple negatives. Did you see any negatives? And what do you want to talk about?
I was very concerned with the lack of pressure that the defensive line got and also how much they were swallowed up in that run game. I mean, I got to give credit where credit's due to the Steelers offensive line. I think they have actually a very underrated unit up front. But I just felt like they didn't bring it yesterday. There were very few positives to take away, Cameron Klein being one of them. I thought Kingsley Jonathan too, who I love. I'm big on Kingsley Jonathan. I thought those guys both played really well. But yeah, I mean, Timmy even brought it up. He's like, Leonard Floyd didn't really show that he could set the edge. I mean, Greg Rousseau, I think, did all right. He had some plays, but it was against second teamers. Not the oomph you want to see out of your starting defensive line, going against a, solid offensive line for sure, but we're going to be playing better offensive lines in the regular season. So I think that was certainly discouraging. Linebackers, my gosh. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad. I mean, even Matt Milano didn't play a great game. But my boy Dorian Williams did lead the team in tackles with 4. So there is that. Kind of neat. And that's
down the field
tackles,
for 10 yards, Jake.
Right. And that's the issue. So that's what I'm getting to. Listen, I don't think you can knock them too much just because none of the linebackers really played well. But in my opinion, this third preseason game, start him at middle linebacker. I mean, what are we waiting for here? This guy needs to be on the football field. He needs to be taking repetitions. And this guy can play. He can absolutely play. Let him make some mistakes in the preseason here. We have 1 game left. But I think, when you look at who's playing middle linebacker right now, between A.J. Klein and Tyrell Dotson, I don't think either of them are the answer. So now you have Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams. Terrell Bernard's injured still. And Dorian Williams is healthy and can play sideline to sideline and just go out there and hit people. I mean, shoot. Just let him play free a little bit. Don't put too much pressure on him. Matt Milano can call the plays. Someone else can call the plays, and he'll figure it out. Because right now, that position is so scary. I don't think you do anything else but play him there.
Jake, let me ask you this. I saw Dotson out there in the fourth quarter, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Did I see him late in the game? What does that tell you?
That tells me that the coaches are totally not sold on him, and maybe they're trying to spark something. They're trying to light a fire under his ass because I think they want him to get to that point where he is the starter. They've given him every opportunity in the world, and I don't think he's a bad player. He knows the defense well. That's the real big thing here. I think he knows the defense better than anyone in that linebacking unit, outside of Matt Milano. So it's really tough because you want a guy like that to be your starting inside linebacker, but the problem is the play isn't matching his knowledge of the defense.
Yeah.
That's what I got to say to that.
Yeah. So, all right. Do you have anything else? I have a couple myself. And do you have any follow-up, Sean, to what we've been talking about there?
No, Jake said everything that needed to be said. I mean, the lack of pressure is kind of alarming. I know Von's not there, but it's the same problems last year. Someone's got to step up. We heard that Leonard Floyd's going to be just like Von if he's, until Von gets back, and haven't really seen it. Yeah. And again, as far as setting the edge, I think only Rousseau did decent at it, and it's just not constant pressure. Oh, Daquan Jones was on the ground more than he was upright, and it really pissed me off because it wasn't even like he got destroyed. They pushed him and he just tripped and fell on his face. Like, what the hell are you doing? It was pitiful. And then Settle destroyed Puna Ford, and that's how the big run happened. It was just a mess. I don't even know how it happened, but somehow Settle got blocked into Puna Ford's legs, and they both fell over. And then it was just, of course, the linebackers aren't nowhere to be found. Typical Bills defense. But yeah, I mean, you got to get pressure. You got to get pressure, and you got to block. That's what wins you games, wins you championships. Not no pressure and no blocking. And it doesn't matter. I think
discipline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I don't know.
Not overcommitting. There's a lot there too. I mean, it just
right
across the board, man. It was tough. Yeah.
I didn't watch Hard Knocks, but I saw Salah's when he's ripping out the O line and saying it doesn't matter if you got a Hall of Fame quarterback, it doesn't matter if you got two $10 million receivers, it doesn't matter if you got this if you can't block, and that's 100. He's 100% right, because if you have a terrible offensive line, it doesn't matter how good you are, and we've seen it every year. Yeah, we won 13 games, but we got bounced in the divisional round again. We couldn't keep up. We couldn't, when it came down to it, we didn't have enough in those positions, whether it was defensive line or offensive line. And yeah, we seem like we're deep, but compared to everyone else in the NFL, really not as good as it may seem. You know what I mean? And when Von's there, we're all good because Von acquires more attention. I'm not saying Leonard Floyd's not good. Yeah, he's had 9 sacks the last 3 years, but can he be Von Miller and then help out these other guys, eat when Von Miller's not there? That I'm not sure of yet, because he had Aaron Donald next to him for 2 of the 3 years. I know he was hurt most of the year last year, but I mean, again, it's another thing off of hope. We have to be hopeful that he can be like Von. We have to be hopeful that Ed Oliver is going to stay in his gaps and be that Oliver we know. We got to be hopeful that Rousseau is going to be good without Von. But, we have all these hope and no guarantee. And, that's the thing. You got to get pressure, even though it's a good offensive line. You got to move the line of scrimmage. You got to do something, because if that's how we're going to do it, the defense is going to get picked apart. And I know we weren't as aggressive as the McDermott defense typically is this game, but that's just how it's going to go. If you got we're going to play zone for the most part, and if there's no pressure up front, and we're either going to have to blitz, and then we're losing guys in the backfield or in the secondary, or they're just going to get carved up. And we've seen it time and time again. So got to get more pressure.
Yeah, Jake, the middle linebacker, obviously the tackle situation is a big concern with the depth there now. The middle linebacker is a big concern as well. I agree with you, Dorian Williams. I mean, everyone else you've tried has been horrible. Give him a shot. And, this one, I put this on Bean and McDermott. I mean, they knew Edmonds was going to be leaving. They knew that. And they draft Terrell Bernard, smaller linebacker, bunch of injury history with him. And sure enough, here he is. I think he was even dinged up last year a little bit, I believe. But this year, dinged up again, hamstring, and continues to be a thing with him as far as injuries. And then this year they draft Dorian Williams, and they're not willing to put him out there at that middle linebacker spot. You have nobody else right now. Do you think, obviously the Bills are going to be watching who gets cut. We're going to learn about cuts in the next week or so. I think it's the 29th is when the cut list has to come in. They have to get down to the 53-man active roster. Do you think there's anyone out there, any vet maybe that might free up that? I don't know. It's the tackle's certainly hard to find, but a linebacker might be more available. I think you're going to be looking closely. And if we're not making a trade, we're going to be picking up somebody for sure.
Brett had a great name, Anthony Barr, still available. He's had a couple visits. He visited the Giants, I believe, left without a contract. The Saints he also considered. And I know there's obviously some injury history there, but he was last with the Cowboys, and he plays that inside linebacker position. And honestly, you talk about losing size there. He's 6'4" himself. So, and this is a guy that played at a Pro Bowl level with the Vikings, and I think it would actually be a pretty good fit. He played under Leslie Frazier, I think, one of his last years as the head coach there with Minnesota. So, he's familiar with the defense a little bit. I think, obviously coming to a Sean McDermott-based defense, there's some differences, of course, not as passive, but shoot, we really haven't seen the aggression as much as we thought we would either. So that's definitely a name to look at. He's still available out there. I'm not sure what he's going to demand in terms of money, but it would be a logical situation for him to come to Buffalo. So that would be kind of unique. But I really think the best option is to just go ahead and start our boy Dorian Williams there.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we see that. So a couple things I wanted to talk about too on my negative side of things. And this really isn't necessarily a negative. It's a good situation to have, but it's a little bit of a negative because it's more of a bummer. Kaiir Elam, again, had 2 pass interference calls yesterday, right? He's very handsy. So yesterday in my video, and I still hold true with what I said. I don't think he'll be starting. It's Dane Jackson. He'll be starting. What I did say yesterday as well, I said if Dane was to get hurt, it's probably Benford, and that they would bring in over Kaiir. at this point. I still said I'm not giving up on Kair. It's just they haven't been able to, figure out the handsy situation. But I rethought things. I was talking to Timmy this morning, some chat going back and forth. And what if, Kair had 2 big interceptions last year. He had that huge interception against the Chiefs, kind of changed the game, turned the game around there.
It definitely did.
Right. He had a 4th down stop and a critical play, I think in the playoffs actually against Miami. I think he was the one to stop that drive. So let me ask you guys this. If I can get Kair, and I feel out of those cornerback 2s, he has the most potential to get turnovers or interceptions because he is playing so close. He's the fastest guy. He's the biggest guy. If he was to give you 5+ interceptions, I might be okay with that. I mean, the good outweighs the bad. Do I get a couple pass interferences during the year? Sure. But does he make some big plays, get those turnovers in our favor? Maybe a pick 6 here or there, but 5+ interceptions, Jake. Are you rolling with him as cornerback number 2? If you knew he's looking at crystal ball and you were going to get 5+ interceptions out of that young man?
Absolutely, I would. I think with him, where he really serves as the biggest asset for this defense is in situations where you want to be aggressive, where you're going to play a little bit of press. Now, it's mainly a zone concept, this defense. We play a lot of zone. That's basically all it is. But the fact that he is so handsy, and this, I mean, set him up for success. I think if you play him in that press scheme a little bit, maybe you get a little physical with these receivers and shoot, maybe it, obviously it's going to mess up with some offensive chemistry on the other side of the ball. So I feel like you could have him in on specific packages where you're going to press these receivers at the line and get aggressive with them. So set him up for success. And then, I think after that, he can learn a little bit and figure out the zone scheme a little bit better too. So, if he's getting 5 interceptions, of course I'm starting him. Absolutely.
What are your thoughts, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at players, you got to try to factor in upside and potential, the word we always say.
Potential.
And, just
we're saying it again.
Yeah, and just like overall skill. So, I mean, everybody knows that zone's easier to play than man, and it's alarming that Elam can't grasp zone coverage for some reason, which I'll never understand it. I don't know if the Bills just have the most complicated schemes in the entire universe and people can't learn playbooks, but every other team can get people up squared away up to par, ready to play. But year 2, and Elam still can't work his way to he's got more talent than Benford and Dane Jackson. So how is he not inserting himself into that number 2 role by a landslide? And it's a little concerning. People keep saying, like, oh, maybe in year 3 he'll be okay. He's a first-round pick that we traded up for. If it takes 3 years, it's like Noah Igbenogany from the Dolphins. He was a first-round pick. He's in the year 3 or 4 now, and he's just starting to, butt a little bit. That's not what you want from a first-round pick. That's what you get from a project player. That's not what you want from a first-round pick. And we traded up for him, and, you guys know how I feel about trading up, especially last year we traded up for Kincaid, and we traded with an AFC team who then drafted a right tackle who would have been nice. But, you trade up for a reason. They saw something in him, and either the scouts got something wrong about him or they didn't evaluate him properly, because part of the process is you go and you visit, you see how they are in the classroom, you ask them questions, you test them. And if they didn't think he could grasp anything in the zone coverage or something like that, then they should have known that when they were scouting him. So either he's just not it, or he's just, I don't want to say anything mean about the guy, but if you can't manage to learn an easier concept, there's something wrong there. And I hope it doesn't take 3 or 4 years, because to me that's a bust as a first-round pick. If it takes 3 or 4 years for you to get significant playing time, that's a bust to me, and it's unacceptable. But at this point, with what we got in the secondary, you got to at least give him a shot. I mean, I know they like Dane Jackson. Like they pick and choose who to be safe with and who to give opportunities to. You know what I mean? Like when you go back to Spencer Brown, he hasn't earned anything to get more opportunity, but they like him, so they're giving him more opportunity. Elam has succeeded, and then in big spots, and then they're like, well, I'm not so sure about it. Screw it. We're going to put him as the 3rd string, technically the 4th string corner because Trey White. But Yeah, we're going to put him on the bottom of the depth chart because we don't like how he plays zone coverage. Well, you knew that he was a press man corner in college, and you drafted him anyway. Maybe we should stop sticking in our old ways and stop playing zone 99% of the time. Did you ever
Play
think
to
of
their
that?
strength. Play to your personnel strength. Yeah.
That's how coaches are supposed to be. You play to the strengths of your players, and then also you have to put into account the team you're playing. If everybody knows the Bills are going to run a base nickel all the time, then it's easy to beat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you got in the field. They already know how it's not hard to figure out. And yeah, they changed up a little bit here and there, but stop being so stuck in your ways and stubborn. And people blame Leslie Frazier for a lot of stuff, but I got a feeling we're gonna miss him at some points. And yeah, he made a run a more conservative defense, but it worked for the most part. And yeah, it didn't work in the playoffs, but it was a combination of a lot of things in those playoff games. And I mean,
also, who had the final say on that? I mean, was it really
Yeah.
Leslie Frazier or was it Sean McDermott? I think he had a much bigger influence
Right.
than a lot of people are led on to believe. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes, but it's just you still see it. You see all those things even now, like all the why'd you draft Elam if you didn't want to give him an opportunity? I feel like with Hyde and Poyer back there, I'd be willing to give Elam more opportunity in case he messes up because they're the best tandem in the league. I know they're old, but I mean, another group of guys that is still more athletic than me at this point, but they're old in NFL, and they seem like they're getting a little bit slower. Not too much. They're still fast, but lost a little bit of a step. But you still feel comfortable. Like you guys remember when Trey White went down, we were all like, "Oh man, we got Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace now." But then we said, "Oh, you know what? With Hyde and Poyer, we feel comfortable that if they get beat, they're right there to clean it up." So why not feel the same way about your first round pick that you traded up for? So either Bean really liked them and McDermott wasn't so sure, or McDermott was like, yeah, you really got to go get this guy. And then it's just like, well, yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah.
So there's something that we all don't know and we won't know.
I have a feeling it was the other way around. I think Brandon Bean really liked him. Sean McDermott was probably like, I don't know with my scheme. I don't know if he's the right fit.
And then
so maybe they're just trying to fit a square peg into a triangle, or what is it? Triangle peg into a square hole, or
whatever
the saying is.
But then you start thinking more. It's like, I'm not saying this is a thing. I'm not saying that people even do this, but Keith's in the chat. It's kind of how it was with Tua. Greer wanted Tua, or someone else wanted Tua that's up there, but Flores didn't want Tua. So Dolphins fans thought that Flores was trying to sabotage Tua. So you start thinking, if Bean wanted Elam and McDermott really didn't, is that why McDermott's not giving him a better chance to succeed? Because he didn't really want him. And then you start wondering, is that how people work? Because why is Spencer Brown getting a ton of opportunity for being below average player and being awful because he's a project, but a first round pick who is very talented doesn't get more opportunity than him because, we don't really like how he fits with the scheme. He's not really grasping it. There's a disconnect somewhere and I don't like it. And I mean, he might find his way playing a little bit either way. I think Mike mentioned that the other in your one of your shows the other day that he'll still be getting playing time, but it's just rough that way because he's still not coming in with cold feet, and all three of them for Benford, Jackson, and Elam. You don't want to keep rotating, and you want to be into a comfort zone, but it's a lot of interesting things that could be at play.
Hey, by the way, that call on Christian Benford, that DPI yesterday, did not agree with that at all. That's a ticky-tack call. I thought that was a horrendous call by the referee.
I want to say, so I changed my tune on the Kyer Elam. I'm all for him playing. Get him out there. Like I said, he has more potential to get these interceptions. Dane Jackson, he's safe, but as far as getting a guy who can take one to the house, pick six, I like Kyer's option. So if he's giving us 5+, take it. Yeah, exactly. I want to go back to this one a little bit from Keith. Jake, let's see here. Zone is a much more cerebral type of coverage than man. Is that true?
Absolutely, it's true. Yeah, I mean, you need to know in terms of alignment, exactly where to be, to the hash or to the yard marker. Like there are so many things that complicate the defense more so than just playing a press type of coverage or press type of scheme. So absolutely, Keith. No, you make a very good point with that. But to Sean's point, I don't think it's that complicated that Kyer can't do it. He still played a little bit of zone too. He's just more of a press man corner than a zone corner. That's just his type of play because that's how he is. He's handsy, he's physical, which personally I love. I think that's great, especially against guys that are shy away from contact. You get them off their route right away. I mean, that's huge. That's a win for us. And maybe it is a gamble at times because you can get burned and you can get taken advantage of pretty quickly with a press type of scheme. But the nice part with Kyer is that he can run with the best of them too. He's fast as hell. So if he does, get beat at the line a little bit, he can make up for it, make up some steps.
Yeah, I do want to say we're getting close to final call, so make sure you go get your dollar drinks. We were able to extend them past an hour once again. So tip your staffs well, tip the staff well by hitting that like button, smashing that subscribe button, dropping a nickel on it, drop a few nickels on it, and leaving comments after the show. We always appreciate your support. The last thing I had, and I'm saying this is the last thing for the show, but I wanted to talk. We talked about the different positions. But the offense as a whole, and this is not, I don't put this on Josh Allen at all, but the offense as a whole, they were out of sync. And we kind of talked about, it looked like the Steelers, their camp, whatever they're doing in training camp, I mean, they looked ready to go. Are you putting this on Dorsey? I mean, what is going on? And then I heard another show say, well, they're not really game planning for the Steelers. They're not really talking about, scheming for them, which I find that hard to believe because you're supposed to be, as you're working through preseason, it should be mirroring what you do getting ready for the regular season. So, Jake, I just want to throw that to you.
Yeah.
I know you had to have been surprised about how out of sync they looked. What's that a result of? Is that are they just playing around too much in training camp? It looked like the same offense from last year for the most part, other than having Kincaid out there. And most of the stuff with Kincaid happened with Barkley. Barkley had some nice throws to him.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts there, man?
My thoughts really, it starts up front. And I know as cliche as that sounds, like that is really where it truly starts. Josh Allen had no time again. So to even get anything in sync is nearly impossible when you have, little to no time to throw the football. We even tried going under center, and that was a freaking nightmare. So, obviously it starts up front. That's the first thing. Secondly, Gabe Davis owns the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought Gabe played very well yesterday. Actually, I thought all the receivers played extremely well. Now, the run game, I didn't think that was great by any means. I'm not too concerned with that. But, the offense on that one drive where Spencer Brown was penalized twice, they got rolling and they looked good. That was a really nice drive there. And I freaking love the usage of Dalton Kincaid. If you have to throw to him like every other play, I'm totally good with that. Like he is that dude. He is legit. He's quick in and out of his routes. He looks just so like fluid. It's beautiful. It's everything that we heard about his scouting report coming into the season. So that I am super enthusiastic about, super encouraged by. As far as the offense goes, I think Ken Dorsey was kind of letting Josh play pretty free yesterday for the most part. And that could just be because it is preseason. So maybe they didn't necessarily like scheme up, a very black and white game plan. Maybe it was like, hey, Josh, maybe make some calls of the line, maybe see what you're looking at, take what the defense is giving you, be free, because it is preseason and you want to give Josh that opportunity because it's going to happen during the regular season where he has to make some calls on the fly. So I think, in terms of preparation, they were prepared, but they really shot themselves in the foot more than anything with penalties and just not being able to hold their blocks at the line, plain and simple.
So how do you compare that with the Steelers, who looked very prepared against what they're about to face?
Yeah, they absolutely did. I think with the Steelers too, they're in a different position, right? So Kenny Pickett, it's going to be his first year as the full-time starter. So with them, their approach is we're going to get Kenny all the help we can, which they did. And I think they had to have a more tied up game plan because Kenny is not at the level that Josh Allen is. So he can't play that free type of football like Josh can. He has to have a specific game plan to follow. And it worked out very well for them. You could tell they looked prepared. They looked like they came with a mission, get the starters in, get them their reps, get quality reps, and then get out. And that's exactly what they did.
Sean, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's some truth to they don't truly prepare like they do for game week, but they don't just like, we're just going to wing it. You know, they definitely have talks about what they're going to do. Because like you said, Mike, I've heard people say they have zero planning when it comes to the game in preseason, which again, there's always something. There's always a script. There's always a first drive script. And, you know, then you're supposed to adjust off of your first drive. So yeah, it's preseason. Yes, it might be a little bit vanilla, but they still have a game plan going in. And they're still, they're playing the Steelers. They're not watching, you know, hours and hours of Steeler film in preseason, but they're like, oh, we got to watch out for TJ Watt. We have to scheme this way. We have to worry about this guy. And yeah, again, it's not, you know, an elaborate thing like in the regular season, but you have to prepare a little bit. And again, going back to my playing days, we would have a scrimmage once. It was a week before, like 2 weeks before the year, but you play like 5 teams in the scrimmage. So you play one team, you play like a half, and you go to another team, you play another half, and so on and so forth. So before, you know, we're watching film a little bit on certain teams and a little bit, and then we still run our game plan in practice and camp, and we're like, okay, we're going to come out doing this, and then we're going to see how it goes. So we're trying to get ready for the season to start. And it was just preseason for us, but even as kids, we had to get ready to play for the year and work out all the kinks and everything. But as Mike said, Pittsburgh did something, and I'm going to put a lot of it on coaching, and then a lot of it's on focus. And yeah, you could be rusty. And people say like, oh, Pittsburgh played their starters in the first game too. I don't know how much they did, but well, look at the Dolphins. They didn't play their starters. Tua threw a pick his first play. The second play was a bad snap, and then he went 5 for 6 with a 94-yard touchdown drive. So they're ones without Waddle too, and without Armstead, and without, I don't know if Connor Williams played, but missing a couple of key starters. They still were, it's the Texans, but they're still able to drive after a bad pick, and you know, we're running the ball and passing the ball. So they looked a lot better than we did, and they've been having a terrible camp. They've been having terrible joint practices. And this is, I'm not just making it up. It's coming from people that are, you know, Dolphins creators, and they're at the camps. So there's a lot of truth to it. But why are we the team that I've seen that looks absolutely horrible, besides Josh, as a unit? And then Pittsburgh comes out on both sides of the ball and looks and special teams, all 3 facets, and looks like Mike said, they were ready to play week 1 already. And you know, there's coaching's a big part of it. And you could chalk some of it up to rust, but I mean, how much? I'm not going to buy too much stock into that excuse of rust.
Yeah, it's interesting. So thank you guys for answering that. You know, Sean mentioned it, Jake, and this has got to be hurting you. That special teams looked horrible yesterday. What's going? Is that just because they're still trying to figure out who's going to be playing special teams? I mean, they gave up almost a block punt. Mm-hmm. Coverage was
terrible,
pretty bad. I mean, what were your thoughts? What's going on? This is usually a strong point for a McDermott team. So your thoughts there?
It is. Yeah, it is usually a strong point. There's only so many combinations you could really do on the special team side of the ball. So I just think they had a terrible game yesterday in terms of that side of the ball. I mean, it was terrible. There were, you know, you can mess up, but you can't mess up that bad. I mean, it's not that significantly complicated. So I just think it was just a bad day. I don't know. It's always something that the Bills have been very good with, very tied up with, and they just did not look like the same team yesterday with special teams at all. So I don't really have an answer for that one, Mike. It is concerning though.
Yeah, it's crazy that usually you'll have like one side of the ball where they'll have an off game, but it felt like the whole team was just off yesterday. Special teams, offense, defense. And I mean, you did make a good point. I mean, the wide receivers, I can't think of any drops. The ball was thrown to a wide receiver. Great. They caught it. And even Gabe Davis, he would have had a third catch for a first down if it wasn't called back because of
35-yard
penalties. So the wide receivers, good game yesterday. But it just feels weird to me to see the whole team collapse. And maybe that's just preparation. Maybe I don't give a damn. Maybe you're right. Josh, we're going to go old school. Just go in there. Pick your plays you want to run.
Backyard football.
And if that's the case, Jake, I'm scared if he ever has to do it. Let me just
I know it. I know it, especially with that offensive line. You know, maybe I'm thinking of this too. Like part of me thinks maybe they wanted to see that matchup of Spencer Brown against an all-pro like TJ Watt.
I didn't.
I mean, obviously you don't want to get your quarterback killed.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, I think you have to make an adjustment, which they sort of tried to do,
Yeah.
give him some help. But maybe they wanted to see that matchup and see what it would look like. And of course, it really, I mean, for Steelers fans, it did not disappoint. They were probably fired up as hell. But for us, oh my gosh, what a nightmare.
What more do they need to see about his play? I mean,
I think just going up against a guy like that, the best pass rusher in the league, just seeing where he stacks up against that one-on-one. I'm not sure if that's the philosophy behind it, but that's maybe part of that was, just to see kind of how good of a player Spencer Brown
measuring
could be.
stick. Oh, definitely. But I mean, there just wasn't. I had no.
Yeah, it was awful.
I had no thought that he was gonna win reps against TJ Watt anyway. And it sounds a little mean, but he hasn't proven anything, like I said. And yeah, it's a big first test, but it's not like we're gonna play. I mean, TJ Watt, I wouldn't say he's the best pass rusher in the league. He's definitely top 3, but there's going to be a lot of other great pass rushers that we're going to play. Like I said, 11 games out of the 17 at least without trying to look. Because AFC East, 6 games, they all have great D lines, and then the NFC East all has great D lines. You think TJ Watt's good? Wait till you play Micah Parsons. He's going to get 10 sacks against Spencer Brown. He's going to destroy Spencer Brown. He's going to be on that side the whole time. Not 10 sacks, but so Quinnen Williams said he's going to get 5 sacks against Buffalo. Parsons might get 5 sacks against Buffalo with playing against Spencer Brown. I don't think
that Eagles D line. Holy smokes, man!
Quinnen Williams won't get 5 sacks, but again, before we continue, I'm having a file on my phone of pictures of people talking like, "Oh, Bills are going to get 3rd place, Jets this." I'm trying to find the snippet from Hard Knocks where Quinnen said, "I'm going to get 5 sacks against Buffalo," and then when it doesn't happen, I'm going to have a video where it's going to show him saying, "Yeah, I'm going to get 5 sacks against Buffalo," and then I'm going to put his stat line. It's going to say not 5 sacks, and then just make it a funny video, I guess.
Oh, I love that.
He could get 5 sacks in a game. He's that good of a player, but I don't think that is going to happen against.
How confident do you feel though with this offensive line in the shape that they're in right now? How
to stop him from getting 5 sacks? I feel good because of our interior. I think Torrance is probably going to be lined up against him most of the time, but I'm sure he'll switch. And then if he feels like confident he can beat McGovern, Morse will just help gap him out. And then that's what you have to do especially in running with superior pass rushers or defensive linemen. Gap is better because you can gap them out and then openings are there. So yeah, Quinnen Williams can still break through a double team, but I think it'll be, I'm not worried about giving up 5 sacks to him. I'm worried about the edges though. That's what I'm worried about the most because, the Jets are young and fast on the outside, and there was, I think, one play, I think one of the last plays we ran on offense, Dawkins got beat so quick he didn't even stand up yet before Highsmith got by him. Yeah, he was still in a 3-point stance before he even thought about getting up.
Brutal, man.
So that could happen again, but I'm confident in the interior O line, and if Cromer's as good as what his resume says, he'll be able to scheme it properly to keep guys like Quinnen Williams out of the plays, and he'll still make plays. You can't keep him to 0, 0, 0, 0 stats across the board, but you'll be able to make sure he's not changing the game. If if Cromer's who he says he is, and what we could, if we could produce like the interior can, and but yeah, I mean Spencer Brown against TJ Watt, obviously we got the result that we probably expected. But we're going to have more tests like that. Again, it's going to be a tough year, and we ignored that position, and they're going to have to live with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I did want to run because I did mention in the video that we would give some snap counts, some splits, and I'm just going to do it for the offensive line. And I was a little shocked here. PFF does track the preseason, and I'm going to go through 6 offensive linemen. I'm going to include Bates. Bates played center for 13 snaps, and he, of all of them, had the best overall grade of a 70. They graded him 70. Sure, right. He played his pass blocking was 59, and his run block was 72. So averaged it out. Actually, they don't even average it because of those 13 snaps, He had 8 pass blocking ones and 5 run blocking. So he had the best overall grade. But let me go through this. It might surprise you. Maybe I'm going to unsub from PFF because I'm questioning some of these things. So Deion Dawkins, pass blocking 68.5, and his overall offensive grade was a 52.2. Again, the run was horrible, so a lot of these guys are getting dinged big time. But I'm really more focused on that pass blocking. So 68.5 for him. We are a passing team, let's face it. Connor McGovern, right? Pass blocking 82.5. But this is interesting. His overall grade they give him 36.8. How can you have an 82.5? His run block was 43.3. So I get it. He had, let's see, by the way, Dawkins was on the field for 27 snaps total, left tackle, 19 pass blocks, and 18 run blocks. McGovern was out on the field for 16 snaps, 12 pass blocks, 4 run blocks, 36.8 overall grade when you had an 82.5 pass block.
Yeah.
PFF, call your IT department. You got something going wrong here. Let me continue on here with Mitch Morse. Mitch Morse saw the field 16 snaps. They gave him a pass blocking grade of 66 and an overall offense of 60. Pass blocking again. If you're over 65, if you're in the green, I'm saying okay. And Mitch Morse is in the green there. Here's where it gets interesting. Osiris Torrance was on the field for 27 snaps. His pass blocking grade was a 40. A 40. His run blocking was a 54.7, and his overall grade was a 51. I don't know what game they're watching.
I didn't see that.
I don't know what game they're watching. PFF, what are you watching? Did you get confused here? I don't know. But maybe it's because he's on that right side with Spencer Brown, and Spencer Brown, very similar. His overall grade was a 41.3. His pass blocking was a 45.6. So that whole right side, according to PFF, I mean, Josh Allen's going to be running for his life all year if that continues. But it is interesting. Like, how do you score a guy that low? And again, what did you see from Torrance? Because we didn't see it. You guys, I mean, I don't know. Am I on sub?
It must have washed over. I think some of Spencer Brown must have blended over into Osiris Torrance because I don't understand that at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if, I guess, Sean, you didn't see the all 22, didn't seem to be available.
It's not up yet, but I did watch the full version again just to try to. The all 22 will probably be out tomorrow, but just the eye test shows you that Dawkins and Brown were the worst overall on the field. And I always say about PF, Mike says it too, it's a tool. But the best thing to do is if you can get the all 22 on NFL Plus, you get the scores. So you say, oh, they got Dawkins as a 68 in pass blocking. Then you watch Dawkins play, you compare the grades to the tape to verify, and then you'll see sometimes that they're wrong because, again, they're human like we are and like the players are. So everybody makes mistakes. But watching that game, there's no possible way that Torrance was the fourth best lineman and was graded less than Spencer Brown at pass blocking. That's absolutely impossible. And again, I encourage you, always look at PFF as a tool, but then watch the film just to verify, and then you formulate your own opinion, because I don't know what they actually do to their grading scale for people, but there's definitely something wrong there all across the board. Because even so, how does an 82 and a 40 make a 30? And how does what did Dawkins get a 50 and a 40? Now he's a 60 or something. Like how does that even make sense? And
Dawkins was a 56 on run block and a 52, 68 pass block, and his offensive overall grade was a 52. I mean, how is that possible? Is when his run block was a 52.5? It shouldn't be. His overall grade should not be lower than his lowest score here. Now, for those that we talk. Yeah, we talk PFF a lot. Supposedly they have human beings watching these games and they're grading them somehow. And I don't know what their algorithm is underneath the covers there when they take the total snap counts. Maybe, you know what could have hurt too? They take into account penalties. That's a big one. We had 12 in the first half, so that could be why you're seeing some of these lower scores. They don't just factor in pressures and sacks and all that good stuff. They do take into account penalties as well. So interesting. Just wanted to throw that out there to you guys.
I'm looking forward to the tape coming out for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Good to see you out there, Sarah. Thanks for joining us. I do want to reiterate the winners here, kind of our Madden giveaway. It was a clean sweep for, let me find where it is here.
All women. An all women winner selection for the Madden game. Freaking love it, man.
Jules
it's great
Marie.
to see.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Jules Marie, been a long time member of the channel. Morning Mayan also, and then Sophia Godfriend from Hawaii. There you go. Those three. So reach out to me. You can kind of leave a comment here, and I'll comment back to you. But if you hit me up at Nickel City Mafia at nickel.city.mafia. Yeah, unfortunately, somebody had that name already out there on Instagram. So I had to throw the dots in the middle. But send me a message. We'll talk about how I get this out to you. You're going to get the standard edition of Madden 24, the boxed version. So you have that beautiful picture of Josh Allen on the cover. So good stuff there. So guys, I mean, the staff's getting a little antsy. They're saying an hour and 41 minutes, and they want to get home to their family. They got to clean up still. Last call for drinks. Let me go around the horn here. What do you want to say?
Last call right here. Can we put the quarterback 2 competition to bed yet, or are you now more concerned? Kyle Allen looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Matt Barkley did not look good at all. And now Sarah's coming and saying, hey, Carson Wentz still available.
Wentz. Interesting.
How would that would be? I mean, you talk about upgrading your backup quarterback
position.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not sure if Carson Wentz would love that, but that would certainly be the best scenario for a backup quarterback in the league right now. Absolutely.
So what is Wentz's situation right now? Did he start last year? Who's he playing for?
No, he started off with the Commanders, but yeah, he's currently a
free agent. Huh?
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he's just been one and done with every team he's been on since the Eagles. So it's, for him, he has the size, he's got mobility. I think something happened when he was with Philly there. I just don't know. Obviously, injuries were huge, but he was having an MVP year that Super Bowl season. And then, obviously Nick Foles took over, he got injured. And then after that, he just has not been the same quarterback. But as far as a backup goes, I mean, shoot, that'd be pretty crazy.
I wonder what he's asking.
I think we won't get him because it's going to be a money thing. We're paying $1 million for Barkley, I think, and $1 million for Kyle Allen. He's going to be a backup, but he's going to be one of those more like Miami's had backup. Like Bridgewater was making like $10 million a year. And Mike White, or someone before Bridgewater, but Brissett made a lot of money as a backup. We're not looking for that right now, especially if we're going to pay money. We're not going to be spending on a backup quarterback, unfortunately, because we don't have the luxury anymore. But I mean, if he's cheap, why not bring him in? And he's got a good arm. And people say like he's not good in the locker room, which I've never heard before about him, but. People have been saying that Carson Wentz is a locker room guy that nobody likes. So they say, we don't want him in the Bills locker room. But if he's going to help out in any way, why not? And again, I'm not paying over like $2 million for him though. But I don't think, like Jake said, I don't think he's going to like that.
Let me throw some names out there that are available. I mean, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan's up there in age. I don't know if he's officially announced retirement.
Oh no, he's a statue, Mike. Come on.
I'm just throwing names out there. I mean, would you take any of these? Obviously, we would take Carson Wentz over the two that we have right now. Matt Ryan, I don't know.
No.
I don't know. Maybe. Obviously, Brady's done. Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, Chase Daniel.
No.
And that's about it. Those three.
I don't think Matt Ryan comes back to the NFL if he's holding the clipboard. I think it has to be a team that he's going to start for. Because right now he's with CBS. He's on their team, and I think he's going to be doing NFL Today with them. So for him, I feel like it'd have to be a scenario where maybe it's like a Phillip Rivers type situation where a team calls him up late in the season. They just need a guy that's serviceable that can get him there. He can still play football. He's not the Matt Ryan that won MVP in 2016, not even close. And he's not mobile. I mean, this day and age, you got to have some type of wheels to play quarterback. Like, gone are the days of having a statue as your quarterback. Gone are the Peyton Mannings and stuff. It's a different game now. You got to have some type of mobility.
Yeah, he would just he would just get killed if he ever played a game with Buffalo. He'd oh man,
especially with this offensive line, you imagine.
Yeah.
Actually, it'd probably be the worst thing he could ever do.
Yeah.
Dude, guys, Carson Wentz made $28 million last year. $28 million. I mean, he had a huge contract, signed a 4-year deal, $128 million. And then that when he got traded over to Washington, or that was moved. $28 million. So
it's crazy.
Don't know. What is he going to say? Yeah, I'm okay with a couple $1 million. I mean,
there's something funny here. Seems like quarterbacks come here to help their careers, but it hasn't worked so far. But they think it might for some reason. It seems like it. I mean, Trubisky got a contract, but then hasn't done anything with it. But Case Keenum is a backup again. But it's pretty funny. And,
what about Mitch yesterday? I mean, look, we had Mitch. Yeah. I thought Mitch was
advisor. He looked good in advisor.
Yeah,
too.
I thought he was
firing up our first team.
Yeah, I thought he was one of our better backups in recent years.
I did
and then he goes to the Steelers, and they expected him to start. He doesn't earn that. He doesn't get that job. And then he was like $10 million. They could have saved a lot of money by cutting him, but they renegotiated his contract and they kept him. Yeah. And I think that was a great thing that they did there to help out, back up.
And they still have Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, and he looked pretty decent too. I mean, yeah. And then they had a fourth stringer that they were talking about might come in. Was it Jordan? Something
Tanner, I think, or Tanner. Something.
Tanner? Okay.
Tanner, yeah.
I mean, I like Ryan for helping Josh thought process. I think he's a very smart quarterback, a smart person, and maybe he could help in that aspect. But if he ever got in the field, man, I mean, he's a freaking statue. But I think he could help, as like a coach backup type thing. I mean, I guess Barkley's like that, but I don't know how Barkley is up there as far as that kind of process.
I don't believe anything's going to happen in that room.
No, definitely not. No, they're not going to touch
Kyle Allen's going to be the 2. Matt Barkley's going to be a practice squatter. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's close it out here. Final thoughts. Let me throw it to our guest, Sean, who's going to be doing a Red, White, and Ruthless show on Nickel City Mafia starting next week with Brett from the Go Bills podcast. Super excited to see that one get kicked off. But let me throw it to you, Sean, for closing thoughts, sir.
Yeah, well, my computer's dying, so if I just cut out, it's because it died. But I feel kind of bad because we ran the names through AI, and my YouTube name is Red, White, and Bills, and it got Red, White, and Ruthless. So I feel bad for Brett. None of his channel, his name got put into that. But it was voted upon, and that's what everybody liked. But I'm looking forward to it and being a part of Nickel City Mafia. I mean, we've been working together for years now, and our channels have been increasing. And I'm going to be super excited to be a part of a segment of your channel and helping you grow in that way too. So obviously subscribe to the Nickel City Mafia if you haven't. Catch our show. I think we're going to do Saturdays, and then head over to Red, White, and Bills if you haven't yet. Check it out. Subscribe if you like it. Subscribe if you don't, and then tell me why you don't like it. And it's all free. But I appreciate you guys having me on again. I've been wanting to talk football, since the game, and I'm glad I got to come let it all out here.
Jake, we got to start promoting the other channel that Keith, Sean's on, you're on. We have a Jet rep, the AFC East Summit. I mean, it's a fantastic show. They had some fun trivia last week. They have the 4 reps. I mean, there's a lot of channels now that have similar to the AFC East Roundtable, which was the first out of the gate. But we couldn't get a chair at that table, so we had to start our own channel. But we have a Dolphins rep, a Jets rep, a Patriot rep, and of course we have 3 Bills reps that rotate in. So check it out, AFC East Summit. If you go to Nickel City Mafia, you'll see a link to them, or just search for them. Subscribe to that channel. Big things for these guys. It's a lot of fun. It's so entertaining. And I can't wait till the season starts because we're going to be able to go back and forth. Like if we're playing the Jets, we'll be having some big discussions with the Jets, Keith from the Dolphins. So Jake, let me throw it to you, sir. Closing thoughts, man.
Yeah. Well, first off, that AFC East Summit channel, you got to check it out. We have the best of the best for our team reps on that channel, and it's awesome. This is a real big up-and-comer, Keith Dolphin. Keith is an absolute stud. He knows what he's talking about. He's one of the few Dolphins fans that I truly love. And let me tell you, this guy, he's great. So we appreciate the heck out of you for joining us tonight, Keith. So thank you so much again, as always. We appreciate your support. go check him out on the AFC East Summit channel. You got to check it out. Did some trivia last week, and Keith was my front runner. Did not front runner, did not disappoint, and won the yeah.
Picks
of course.
was in.
Yeah, me and Mike had a little side bet going for that one, but hey, Keith crushed it, brother. I love it. No, closing thoughts. Listen, we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and unfortunately, that was the last we'll see of the starters for this preseason. So the next time we'll see those guys out on the field is week 1 against the Jets, and let's hope it's enough. I'm optimistic, of course. I'm always Optimus Prime when it comes to this stuff. I think the biggest fix right now that we need to figure out is really that offensive line when it's all said and done. And whether it be we sign someone, we bring someone in like Jason Peters, or if we just have to find a way to scheme and, deal with what we got, time will tell with that. But hey, I'm still optimistic. Josh Allen still looked like Josh Allen out there. He is Superman. And as long as we got JA-17, we'll be able to make things happen.
Windows always open with JA-17. So thank you guys. It was a great show. Thank you everyone out there in the channel. We appreciate you as always. Congratulations once again to the Madden 24 winners. And I'm going to leave you with a sample of what you're going to see the Bills doing this year. So go Bills, guys. Go Bills.
Bills.
Check this out.
Bills Mafia, circling a wagon, you feel me? Nickel City Mafia, let's go!
Josh Allen, quarterback supreme, leading the Bills to the top of the league. Weapons by his side, and that defense hella mean. Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. I said Buffalo's got a team that must be seen. Yes. Come on. J17 leading the charge. Buffalo Bills on the rise. Passing game on point. Ain't no mirage. Happening right in your eyes. Ain't no surprise. Buffalo stacking the QB. Step on Diggs holding in the pass. Group cards in. Have to go deep. We're circling wagon. Just wait and see. From Wyoming to the NFL. Josh Allen's got the skills. Air raid. Deep ball. Touchdown for real. Leading the Bills to playoff drills. Real time. This ain't no drill. Cold game. We're giving them chills. Check the score. Now you know the deal.
Nickel City Mafia.